Hey, Chase with EOTech. So we are out at the Team VC Night Fighter 101 class. So what we're going to do is walk you through the entire class, keep giving you little check-ins as we move through day one and day two, cover all the different things we're doing, show some stuff on the range, talk to Chip, one of the instructors, get his take on the whole class, the why behind it, which is probably the most important thing in this whole video. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Chip, one of the instructors. So Chip, take it away, man. Where are we going? What do we do?
So Night Fighter 101 is really an intro level class. I mean, it is literally 101. So we're taking open enrollment students, we're taking armed professionals, military, law enforcement. You can come to this class with zero experience with night vision, thermal, white light, and you're gonna be drinking from a fire hose, but that's what we're here to do, is like build you up and give you that foundational knowledge. So, you know, and even if you have experience, so you're issued nods at work as a cop or as a soldier, warfighter, you know, you're gonna come here and pick up a lot of the, not just what, but the why. Yeah. with all these different technologies, because you know, we start out in the classroom, go through some history, some physiology. We talk about the different equipment, and we talk about when and where and why is the appropriate use for each type. You know, naked eye, white light, I squared, night vision, if you will, thermal. You know, then we start doing some non-shooting exercises, getting students understanding what the capabilities of the equipment are going to be, but in my opinion, more importantly, the limitations. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, especially open enrollment students who have never actually worn nods, or maybe they just bought them and they're like, cool, I want to go train and put them on for the first time with some like-minded folks and do some cool stuff. Their real only experience with night vision has been playing Call of Duty or seeing movies, and no pun intended, but I mean, it's very eye-opening for folks to see what the equipment can do, but what it can't do. Yeah. And if you're going to be a well-rounded shooter, a well-rounded night vision user, night fighter, if you will, in my opinion, it's almost more important to understand what the equipment can't do. Sure. Than what it can do. Yeah. Because a good user, a good officer, soldier, operator, whatever you want to call it, you know, they're going to be able to do work with minimal equipment. But when they can understand what the equipment can actually do, they're going to do a lot more. So, you know, I mean, from there we get into some shooting exercises. Students are shooting with white light. They're using visible lasers. They're using IR lasers under nods. They're shooting, and then understand, like, you know, what their gear beyond the technology is capable of, like the loadout, their chest rigs, their plate carriers, their belt setups, things like that. Because if you can do it in the dark, you can do it in the light. But the inverse is not true by a long shot. So the dark is really that litmus test for understanding not just your gear, but your manual of arms, your SOPs, TTPs for professional organizations. You know, if you can do it in the blind, so to speak, at night, then it's going to work during the day too. Yeah. So this is that fundamental, I know nothing as a student coming in for that first time and getting that good foundational knowledge. And then in night two, we pretty much pick up where we left with the shooting package from night one, and we start adding some movement to it. So you know, things look different when you're not just doing ready up drills. I mean, we've all done thousands or millions of ready up drills during the day and in low light. But you know, when you start adding some movement and you start adding some distance, things look different. Yeah. And especially under goggles. And the night monster is real, and you know, he comes out there and really messes with you. and you know, you find out that, oh, yep, the way I set up this plate carrier because some dude on ARFCOM or Light Fighter or wherever told me do this, do that, or, you know, but you don't know it until you actually do it.
Yeah, yeah, and we saw some good shakeout, I think, last night of some of that.
Yep. There's always some debris left on the range. You know, people dropping stuff, and you know, we find it, and you learn about secondary retention and tie down stuff because, I mean, those great pancake holsters that everyone likes for, you know, the pistol, just like in, out, presentation, super smooth. You know, that's all well and good on a square range and, you know, with impossibly blue skies and cotton ball clouds and perfect weather condition. But you literally go in that same spot, same distance on the same range and turn off the lights. And now you're looking through a 40-degree toilet paper tube. All of a sudden, everything that you thought was a good idea and set up properly, you're just a soup sandwich.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm former military, and I've been teaching these kind of classes for open enrollment students and armed professionals for years, and I am still learning about setting up my own gear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it never, dude. The evolution never changes, never stops. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, the neat thing about these classes is that it's kind of the gear guy's paradise, because you know, you go to the carbine classes and pistol classes, and it's almost now where it's, I'm too cool for school, so I'm not gonna wear my carrier or my chest rigs or things like that. And everyone, you know, let's not kid ourselves, everyone's got a basement full of that shit. Yep. And you know, they're spending all this money and they're not a professional, and you know what, God bless them. Yep. If that's what floats your boat, more power to you. You know, but you know, night vision, night fighting is really the only facet of ground combat where your gear literally dictates your capabilities. You know, I mean, if you're relegated to white light, then you're not going to be nearly as capable as if everyone's got nods. Right. If all you have is nods and you don't have thermal, you know, you're not going to be nearly as capable as guys that have both. Yeah. So, you know, knowing those technologies, knowing when it's appropriate to use them, and knowing how to properly set up everything else so you can do it in the dark, that's what these classes are all about. Yeah.
So we just wrapped up the second portion of the shooting. So we did some team drills, some buddy support stuff, making sure we're working good weapons manipulations, good biomechanics, keeping track of all our gear, get those good healthy transitions under nods, which is always super fun. And now we're going to move on to some more buddy work and some more distance stuff. So shooting from probably all the way back to 50 on steel, rifle and pistol, and that's going to be pretty awesome. Look at all these cool dudes. They're all ready to crush it. Let's do this and finish strong.
Stuff that affects visible light, okay, will also affect light in the IR spectrum as well. When you're walking around, you start seeing these lights and these shadows, right? And how, like, light is terrain. And what you'll find is like, hey, I could be here and be dark, but I might be able to be like right here and be darker, right? And sometimes we could see it unaided, but more importantly, sometimes that MVG is going to help us see it be even better. Okay, so you see a dark spot, a dark shadow, and no kidding, you can actually see a darker shadow within that shadow. And those are the things that we want to take advantage of.
All right, so that is the end of TNVC Night Fighter 101 here in Alliance, Ohio, and it was a pretty awesome class. So we're going to do a full video breaking down all the lessons learned about gear specifically, so stay tuned for that. But overall thoughts just coming out of the class, it was incredibly informative. The instruction was absolutely top-notch. Bill, Mark, and Chip absolutely knocked it out of the park. I really appreciate all the hard work the students put in. It was fantastic, and I learned a ton. Quick things that I learned: gear absolutely matters when it comes to night fighting, no question there. And I've got a couple of takeaways that I'm specifically going to talk about in that next video for sure. As far as the EOTech stuff that I was running, the binos were absolutely amazing. I really appreciated the time we got under nods, not just shooting, but moving around, doing administrative tasks. All that's super important because honestly, gunfighting is a very small part of the entire working around with nods, with guns in that kind of environment. So that was super cool. Learned a ton and just got way better and much more proficient at just living under nods. And as far as the shooting went, also a lot of good lessons learned there. The OGL, absolutely amazing. Knocked it out of the park. It was definitely the most impressive laser on the line, if I do say so myself, which I just did. The diopter adjustment on the flood is just mwah. It works so well, especially when you're pushing through some light photonic barriers or you're working up close. You can open it up a lot so it's not blowing out your target. That was a lot of fun to train with and just really enlightening to actually get behind the product and spend some time with it. Very cool. And then finally, the night vision themselves. The Bino MVWs are awesome. A little bit of an increased field of view, which is super nice. It just helps gain a little bit more situational awareness. And like I said, the time we spent under nods was probably the biggest learning point, just because I've done some shooting under nods before over the years, but just living under night vision, it's a lot of fun. So, guys, this was the Night Fighter 101 class. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I hope this encourages you to get out there and take some training, especially with night vision. And I know that it can be a little bit expensive, but it's worth it. You're worth it, and it is the only superpower you can buy. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Train hard, live free. See you next time.